let's welcome back to the stage our MC for the evening, Greg Metzen. Woo! Thank you very much, thank you. All right, everybody loved Jasmine's presentation, learned something out of that? Now that you're all rested up a little bit, we have another another great presentation coming up for you guys from Hayden and Jackson Paul. I did meet Jackson's wife, I think early yesterday morning, and the good news for Jackson is it looks like you will have good-looking and athletic kids after all. I love these two guys. I feel like I should adopt them as my uncles. Wonderful men, great testimonies, very talented in what they do, and that obviously shows up in how they're growing and how so many people love what they do and love their spirit. Fun-loving, grounded in the gospel and its principles. Join me in welcoming to the stage Hayden and Jackson Paul from the Stick of Joseph.
Testing. There we go. Does yours work, Jack?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, epic. Well, guys, we're super excited. Today we're going to tell you the story of the Stick of Joseph, and just a little preface, and then we're going to actually start off with a musical number because my wife is musically talented, and it helps bring the spirit in for me, and I know all of you guys will enjoy it, so she's going to sing a little number. But before we get to that, I just want to do a little preface. What we are talking about today is our personal spiritual journey. We don't necessarily believe there's this huge cosmic purpose behind the YouTube channel that we're doing. But in our lives, for us, what we're going to share tonight, it's been cosmic for us personally, for our families, to see the hand of God as we have done everything that we can to try to share the gospel and bear witness of Jesus Christ and bear witness of the scriptures. And so I just want to preface that because the last thing I want is for this to seem like, hey, look, we're doing this cosmic thing that's going to change the world. It's changed our world. And my hope is that as we share this story of faith and how our faith has been strengthened, that you guys are able to take the same lessons and apply it to the things you've accomplished in your lives that are of similar or greater significance than what we've done with the Stick of Joseph.
And I pray, my prayer is that during our presentation that you don't immediately tune out due to the immense disrespect that Hayden continues to show us by not covering his toes, just as he does on our YouTube
We're
channel
on a cruise
with jeans and flip-flops constantly. So please forgive him.
I got my boat pants and my flippy floppies.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so we'll invite Savannah up to grace us with a beautiful musical number.
My journey, like Israel of old, I travel through the wilderness, so far away from home. Though dangers surround me, though the night is long, my journey, like Israel of old. I need not wander lost nor seek to find my way alone. His presence before me is all that I require. The Lord is my light, my beacon and guide, my pillar of fire, and I will be strong. I will walk unafraid, with the Lord as my companion, every step along the way. Then come what may, I live with courage in my heart, because I know He is with me everywhere I go. This is my journey, and nothing will I fear. The Lord my God will safely pilot me and keep my pathway sure, my help and my guardian to the journey's end. The Lord is my light, my beacon and guide, my Savior, my friend, and I will be strong. I will walk unafraid, with the Lord as my companion, every step along the way. Then come what may, I live with courage in my heart, because I know He is the Lord of heaven and earth. He is the perfect light of truth, and He is with me everywhere I go.
She literally didn't even practice that once before coming up. Like, she decided to sing that song this morning.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Holy cow.
Give it up one more time. And if Hayden and I were smart at all, we would probably just end our presentation there, but neither of us went to college, so I guess we got the next hour to entertain you maybe. But no, our effort in preparing this is to give you a little peek behind the curtain of kind of where this all started and why we feel so passionate about what we do today. And one piece of grace that I'll ask from each of you is usually when Hayden and I are filming in the studio or anything where it's just us two, it's usually just me and Hayden in a room with our black sheet behind us and a camera and maybe just Brandon to judge us for how silly we are. So please, if we begin to stumble over our words or anything like that, please have some grace, because this is pretty much how every video we film begins.
This week we had the epic opportunity. We had the epic opportunity to speak to none other. None other. Stick of Joseph YouTube channel. This week we had
Dude, oh my gosh.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Hey guys.
So, mainly for me, but if we just start to make no sense, just try to pay attention to what you feel, all right? Not what you're feeling, what you're hearing.
So I love that song that Savannah sung. I've actually never heard it ever in my life. That was the first time I heard it. And I love it because it's talking about how each of us have a journey just like Israel, right? And what does Israel mean? One of the main translations that's used for Israel is he who wrestles with God, those who wrestle with God. And that's all of us, right? All of us wrestle with God. All of us are on a journey. And that journey is detailed through many things. Joseph Campbell famously kind of, first articulated the hero's journey, right? It's this idea that you start in a safe place, you leave, you fall, you go through a redemption process, and then you return back to that place, but with more wisdom, with more strength. And so that's kind of a little bit. We're going to share a little bit of our personal journeys in doing that. I have this for notes. I'm not scrolling on Instagram. But this journey actually kind of starts off with me driving in the car, listening to someone say, you know what I'm saying? Who's that? Does anyone know what I'm saying? Carden Ellis. I'm listening to Midnight Mormons at the time. Awesome YouTube channel. It's gone away. Rest in peace, Midnight Mormons. But no, it's been replaced with Ward Radio, which is awesome. But I'm listening to a Midnight Mormons episode, and Kwaku is like trashing on George Washington, saying that George Washington is like a Satan worshiper and all this stuff. And I'm like, Kwaku's got some wild takes. And I'm like yelling in my car because at that point in my life, I'd done a lot of study of American history. I was actually working for someone that you guys probably know. His name's Tim Ballard, and that's a whole other can of worms that if you got 3 hours and you want to hear what's going on, you can come ask me maybe. But so I'd been doing a lot of study, and so I write this fiery email to Ward Radio that like late at night. I'm like, bro, you guys got it all wrong. Kwaku's, high or whatever. And then finally, Carden reaches out to me. We end up having a phone call. We talk about that, but then I start telling him about this guy randomly that I used to work for. His name's Jim Gee. So here's Jim. And I used to work for him, and I would travel with him. You can go to the next slide, Jack. I would travel with him across the world. Here's me in Petra, Jordan's, and Israel. And I would go with him, and I was a videographer. And so I would film for his travel company, right? And while I was with him in the Middle East, he told me about these maps of Nahum that he participated in kind of discovering and finding, and the role he played as well as others played in that whole thing. And so I started telling Carden, he's like, bro, we got to interview this guy. So he comes over. I set up an interview at the guy's place. They interview him. It's awesome. And for the first time ever in a long time, I started to remember these things that I had learned from Jim while I was working for him. And I was like, the Book of Mormon's awesome, and it's true, and it is defensible archaeologically and historically. And so that's kind of what, got the fire going again. But then I was finishing up. I was working on one final project at that time for Tim. Things were getting a little strange. And I had one more project I had to finish with him. But after that, I had nothing else, and I didn't know what to do. And I was driving down my 30-minute drive down to work to go turn in a manuscript I was working on for him. And it just hit me, like chills, like from like electricity. I don't know if you guys have ever had experiences where it feels like someone like plugs a USB into the back of your brainstem and just like information is downloaded. But just immediately, I'm like, go to the Middle East, travel Lehi's Trail, start a YouTube channel looking into the historical and archaeological evidences, try to go to the places as much as possible. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I reached out to Carden. I'm like, hey, bro, dude, let's go to the Middle East. He's like, all right, that's going to cost a bunch of money. How are we going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bunch of footage from when I went to the Middle East with Jim. I'm going to cut a little trailer together, make it look like the thing's already made, and then we'll like send it to people and see if we can raise money or something. So I did that, sent it to a couple people, and finally we get reached out to from, and here's the thing, guys. We were wondering, like, how much did we want to edit this? Like, we're just going to give you the full story, all right? You guys paid money to be here. We'll tell you the full unedited story, all right? So we get reached out by Scripture Central, a guy named Kirk Magleby, who is someone I respect, and I do love him, even though we've had very fiery conversations behind the scenes. And he's like, hey, come talk to us. Tell us about what you guys want to do. And we start telling him about what we want to do. We want to go to the Middle East, do Lehi's Trail. Then we want to come over to the Americas. We'd like to check out the different theories about the Book of Mormon. We'll go down to Mesoamerica, and then we'll go to the Heartland. And he's like, all right, first off, the Heartland, there's no evidence that supports a Heartland theory. It's ridiculous. And we're like, okay, all right. Well, we want to go to the Middle East. Let's just start with that. We'll figure that out first. And so then he's like, hey, we don't really want to work with Cardin Ellis, which is messed up. I love Cardin. Yeah, he's a loose cannon, but one thing I have learned about Cardin is he is genuine and he knows how to work his butt off. He works harder probably than anybody in the LDS YouTube space. So he's like, at first he was like, hey, I just don't want Cardin to be on the screen, but he can help do it. And so then I'm like, freak, it was going to be me and Cardin that go over. What could I do? So I call up Jackson. I'm like, hey, dude, like, who do you think would be good? Like, I'm trying to figure out, I need another person. It can't just be me on camera. I can't do that. But if you think of anyone, let me know, man. I hang up on him.
Yeah, and then I was over at this time in Camp Pendleton in Oceanside in the middle of doing a Marine Corps marksmanship competition. And in between iterations of shooting, he calls me, talking to me about this, and I'm like, bro, what if we just did it? What if we just did it? Because we have like a background from little kids, like making videos together and stuff like that. And I thought of this equation of Hayden's, extensive background in video production skills and my extensive background of just being extremely handsome and looking good on camera and being very articulate. And I'm like, this just makes too much sense. And so then I throw that out there, get off the phone, go shoot. And then Hayden calls me later. He's like, bro, I think this could be sweet.
It's going to be awesome. So Cardin, huge credit to him. He didn't just like throw up his hands and be like, all right, if I can't be in, I can do this. He's like, this seems like a really awesome project. If I have to be behind the camera, then that's completely fine. And so, it really shows like, Cardin was humbly wanted this to happen. Even though he's a fireball, the guy is reasonable, I promise. And so, so then what happens is then they're like, okay, we have the money. You guys could come actually work at Scripture Central. We'll pay your salaries and all that, which is awesome because my baby was just born. I have a picture. She was literally born like 2 weeks before. And I'm unemployed, trying to start do a little documentary in the Middle East, living off of our savings at this point. And so the opportunity to do that, they're like, hey, we'll pay your salary. You can work here. We'll do this whole thing. And so that, you guys, that Marvelous Work and a Wonder documentary that Scripture Central did with Scott Christopher? Yeah, Scott Christopher. So that was what we were talking about doing with them. And for reasons didn't work out. But then they were like, we'll do that, but you can't talk about the Heartland. We're not going to be digging into any of that goofiness. And we actually don't want Cardin involved at all. And then we're just like, all right, okay, come on. But at the same time, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I have, 3 mouths to feed beyond my own, and I'm unemployed. And so I remember calling Cardin once again. I'm like, hey, bro, they don't even want you to be in this. He's like, hey, I understand if you need it, if you take the money and you do this and I'm not in it. Like, I understand. I'm sad about it, but, do what you feel like you need to do. And so later that night, after having that conversation and deciding, like, first off, I want the financial stability, but then everything, like, I'm not able to look into the things that I want to look into, like the Heartland theory. I don't care if you think it's goofy, but like a huge percentage of the church thinks that's legitimate. So let's look into it, right? And so I remember just going to the temple and asking God, like, what do you want me to do? And I just felt very strongly, just go forward. Somehow I'll provide, but I want you to go full bore against this. But I didn't trust God, and so So what happened was,
Not
for a
recommended.
while, I was kind of like halfway trying to raise the money, but then halfway like working at construction sites for, like, I went from like working at Operation Underground Railroad, joining the Marine Corps, and then writing books with Tim Ballard and doing some other stuff, to like cleaning up construction sites while trying to like raise money for a documentary. And I remember one day driving home from a construction site, you know, and God was like, you need to trust me. Stop working on construction sites and go raise money and start doing this. And so that's what we did. So me and Jackson went ahead and we tried to raise some money. And the first person that actually donated for us to be able to go to the Middle East was Tadar Callister, if you guys know him. So we did a little fundraiser, and he showed up, and we were big fans of A Case of the Book of Mormon, and he made the first donation and then later became a really good friend, and it was really sad to see how quickly he passed while we were gone this last year. And so then we finally got the money by the grace of God, and we call up Cardin, we get Brad Whitbeck, we get another one of our friends, Jordan, who actually was awesome because he was an inactive, like he's a former member, but he doesn't go to church anymore. He's all tatted up, and he just kind of lives a little bit of a wild life, but he's a very talented cinematographer. And we're like, dude, just come along with us. And it ended up being a huge spiritual experience for him. But this is what we did. We went, and we went to the Middle East, into the wilderness, departed into the wilderness.
And so this is kind of how it all started off. First of all, we started in Jerusalem and learned a ton of stuff from Jim Gee over there. And then we made our way through Jordan down through to Saudi Arabia. And on our journey we went up to near the Sea of Galilee, and we were driving down. And out of everything that we saw over there, from the land of Lehi down through to a place which is most likely the place of the Valley of Lemuel, the absolute most crazy thing that we saw was this video that you're about to see right here.
Carden, what do we got here? What are we eating?
We got some milk and cookies, dude.
Some milk and cookies.
milk, is it?
No, it's made with love in Saudi. Evaporated milk with full cream. And yes, I happen to like evaporated milk.
Yo.
And so, yeah.
He was drinking evaporated milk. Okay, so he definitely thought in his mind that he was getting sweetened condensed milk, right? Because that's tasty. But evaporated milk is garbage. But he was too proud to admit that that's actually not what he was trying to get. So he drank the whole thing of evaporated milk.
We'll let him vindicate himself later, but for now, you all agree with that. That's crazy, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, we had some incredible faith-building experiences over there. A lot of really cool stuff that really just ignited an unquenchable fire of a desire to show how cool and amazing and truly ancient the Book of Mormon actually is. And
Jack, tell them about our night in the desert and going up and being in those dunes and stuff.
yeah, one of the coolest things that we got to do is we went out to the Jordanian desert, and we were accompanied by like a bunch of Bedouin desert dwellers, and they set up a goat hair tent, and we just hopped on camels and just experienced the extreme uncomfortable journey that Lehi and his family traveled. And
Which camels are disgusting.
Dude, camels are so gross. How many people here have ridden a camel before? Okay, that's a lot. That's actually a lot of you. It's very surprising. But this is kind of how it is. It's insane.
Good.
Oh my gosh! It stabbed me in the back.
It's like a tauntaun
Go
from
get 'em.
Star Wars, but grosser. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went over there, got some amazing footage, and I guess we'll just
Let's just tell the whole story now with the documentary.
Okay, so the documentary, right? We go over there, get some incredible footage, and we have this plan. Okay, so we go down to the Valley of Lemuel, and this place called Wadi Taib al-Ism that literally matches the description almost perfectly for how we see the Valley of Lemuel in the beginning chapters of the Book of Mormon. And we'll just tell the full story of the the trip. So we go to the Valley of Lemuel, and the journey was absolutely insane.
Yeah, so we were there for, so first off, we had to get into Saudi Arabia, go down to the Wadi Tayyib al-Ism, hike through the whole thing, and then make it back to Jordan, the capital city of Jordan, in one day. Or we miss our flight, and then we're like stuck in the Middle East. And also, we're both in the military, and anytime you leave the country, you're supposed to tell the military. And so we didn't do that, of course, because there's all this dumb paperwork you got to do, and it's so annoying. And so we didn't tell anybody that we're in Saudi Arabia, which, I mean, Marines in Saudi Arabia, we probably should have told someone. But we had to report to Camp Williams the day after we got home, and so if we missed this flight, we were going to be in a lot of trouble with Uncle Sam.
Yeah. And so as the good infantry Marines we are, logistics is like our strong suit. So the entire day, what we did was we stopped in the morning at a gas station, got like some Milky Way chocolate bars, and not even a bottle of water. And then did a 3-hour hike in the Saudi Arabian pretty much desert and had no water for anyone in our crew. And it was insane. It was all going wrong. And then we were about to miss our flight. So we were speeding back, and Brad Whitbeck.
So reasonable. He's such a reasonable guy, right?
After not eating for like 12 hours or drinking any water all day in the Saudi Arabian desert, he's like, hey guys, can we stop by a gas station to get some water and some food?
And I'm so nervous that we're going to miss this flight because we have to drive like 12 hours still to get to the airport.
Yeah. So then Hayden's like, Brad, I think we just have to man up and just tough this one out. And then
he lost it on me.
If any of you know Brad Whitbeck, he's like Mr. Switzerland. There's nothing riling him up. Like
your mic's coming off.
Okay.
I got to take. Keep talking.
He's just the nicest guy ever. He's from Canada. I know we have some people from Canada here. You guys are the nicest people. You guys are the nicest. But Brad, he's like, you know what, Hayden? I think it's perfectly reasonable, and then just goes off on a rant.
So, me being a jerk to Brad, I get mine because we do make it. We literally get on the airport. Like Cardin and Jim, they had a couple antiquities with them. Like Cardin bought some in Jerusalem and
that
stuff.
They legitimately
so they get
purchased.
stopped and they're getting checked. And literally, they get on the plane right when they're like, hey, we're closing this in 2 minutes. If your friends aren't here, they're stuck here. And we're like sitting there, and they finally get on. We barely make it to the plane. And we're sitting on the plane, and my stomach just kind of feels weird. I feel a little like, man, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on. And so we eventually land home. And
home being Cardin's house.
Cardin's house. We're at Cardin's house. And we have, what's your cousin's name that makes us steaks? Will. We have Will the Thrill from War Radio, if you guys have seen that. He's making us steaks. We're eating steaks at night. We go to bed early. And at 10:30, I wake up with the most intense pain I've ever felt in my life. It was definitely way more intense than the pain my wife has felt giving birth to our 3 children. 100%.
Boo that man, boo.
Yeah. So I end up looking like this. So it turns out, with me only drinking my can of man in Saudi Arabia and no water, that was kind of the last straw for a kidney stone that I guess had been brewing up inside of me. And so I thought my appendix was bursting. We're literally in Cardin's truck. I'm sitting in the front seat, like crying in absolute pain, throwing up out of the side of his car while Jackson's trying to give me a blessing. It was miserable. I get back there, and I'm sitting in the thing. It hurts so bad. And my baby was just born not too long before, right? And so they wheel me back into the emergency room, and I hear the cries of like an infant child, and I just start sobbing because I'm like, am I going to die? Like, I have no idea what's going wrong with me. And so eventually they find out it's a kidney stone. They give me drugs, and I understand why people get addicted to drugs because that was insane. It was like level 11 pain, and then immediately just like floating on cloud 9.
Yeah, he just got pretty loopy and then just decided to stand up, and I just started filming him and just decided that I'd let him do whatever he needed to do. So this is Hayden, like, minutes after he was just writhing in pain.
Hey, Brad, why don't you just man up and not get any water? It's messed up. So I got mine. I eventually got mine.
So he just wanders off. But that was super awesome, great experience. And then we have this desire. We're like, okay, we need to finish this thing. So then we book another trip to go to a place called Oman, which is the most likely candidate for the land.
Let's wait for that. What did we do right when we got home? We actually went on someone's YouTube channel right here.
Sorry, I'm forgetting the most
ahead,
important
dude.
part. Our boy Greg Madsen reaches out to us because he got connected to us through Carden. Again, God bless you, Carden. And we do an interview just basically talking about the project that we're wanting to do. And this is like, we don't even have, Hayden had made like 2 YouTube videos before this. And we basically hadn't told anyone about this. We do this interview, and this is kind of what kicks off our desire to further invest in the YouTube channel. I guess.
Real quick, this was the branding of the Stick of Joseph at the very beginning, and it was just with me, right? So when I did the first YouTube channel videos before Jackson got on, or we actually got the money to go over the Middle East, this is what it looked like. So it was literally just a Canva font that I was like, that kind of looks ancient. That's kind of cool. And this was a studio. It's so much different than what it is now. We literally took like a chest and put it on a dresser, and that's my parents' basement. So that's how we started. And so for the first like 6 months of the Stick of Joseph, that's what the studio looked like. And our poor mom is like, I thought I raised you and I was done. I thought I only had 1 kid left, and you're back here every single day filming.
And honestly, the plan at the beginning was we only got as far as Hayden and I deciding we want to do this Book of Mormon documentary. And we didn't even think of like, let's do a YouTube channel. But at the time, I had a really close friend of mine who his in-laws were going through a lot of stuff, and his wife ended up removing her records from the church without even telling my friend. And it's a really, really sad scenario. And when I was talking to him about it, one of the things, and I honestly didn't even know what Reddit was at the time. But at the time, I was asking him, like, what has led to this? And he's like, well, there's this thing called ex-Mormon Reddit, and, like, she got on it, and after a week, like, she was completely just, like, done. And she had forsaken, like, all of her faith. And I'm like, what is this? And then I go and I look on there, and then I just start to see I hadn't really been exposed to like all the antagonists towards the church on the internet. And I start to do like this deep dive, and I'm like, holy cow, like, are we providing the same amount of pushback from the faithful side? Like, this is insane, this massive wave of negativity towards not just the restored gospel, but Christianity as a whole. And seeing this firsthand, someone that I love greatly, then eventually he kind of, fell by the wayside, catalyzed by this negativity that's made online against the restored gospel. We were like, we gotta put our hat in the ring, and we gotta start standing up for our faith.
So, yeah. So we get back, here's us again with Carden, and we start getting the documentary ready, at least continually going. And I'll just give the full story real quick of the documentary. That way we don't have to keep like interjecting it later on. So we plan on going back to Oman, and we start going, we get what's called a film, I can't remember what it's called, but it's someone who essentially organizes.
Film fixer?
A film fixer over in Oman. This company that's like getting us all the permits and everything to be able to go over there, and everything's looking A-okay. We finally, a couple days before we're supposed to fly out, we get the heads up. Hey, we got your permits, you guys are good to go. So we're excited, we're packed up, but as you guys know, October 7th of 2023, there was that horrible attack in Israel from Hamas. And so what happens, we're going on the 15th, I believe it was, of October. In that period of time from the 7th to the 15th, Joe Biden flies to Israel and gives his undying support to Israel, which then Oman, because it's a Muslim country, is like really mad. And so they essentially, the day that we're flying over, film fixer calls up in that morning, is like, hey, the permits that we got you guys, they've been revoked because of the whole October 7th thing were no longer they're no longer supporting American productions. And so we're like, oh man, this stinks so bad. So luckily, we're just like, okay, it's not the right time. What are we gonna do? So then and we'll talk about this in a second, we end up, essentially what has happened with the documentary is we kept learning new things. We kept meeting new people, and we're like, that needs to go in, 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 that needs to go in.
It's the problem with keeping an open mind, because then we're like, okay, where do we draw the line to, include in the documentary? But
so then we finally, we ended up in England. We're meeting Margaret Barker. We're doing some stuff with Dave Butler to put into the documentary, and we're like, all right, I think we got what we need. And then Uncle Sam's like, hey, you guys are going away for a year. And so we're like, now we have to build up, and we'll talk about this in a second, we have to build up a library of content. So that's kind of where the documentary went, is we kept wanting to put more and more stuff in, and then by the time it felt like, okay, we got our stuff, we got sent away. So it is coming. We did want to show you, we'll show you this little clip of something that we cut that was going to be for the first episode. I'm sure things are going to change, but we'll just show you something to show that, hey, we actually did go over there and we are going to do something one day, all right? And Cardin's really pissed that it's not done yet. He's really angry. I shouldn't say that. He's very angry that, sorry, guys.
After the largest and deadliest escalation of violence in decades, declaring war.
A huge barrage of rockets. They are targeting Jerusalem.
Ever since the beginning of recorded history, Jerusalem has been a place of conflict. A city that people have been willing to fight and die for. In fact, since its founding in 4000 BC, Jerusalem has been attacked 52 times, captured and recaptured 44 times, besieged 23 times, and completely destroyed twice. And the evidence of this is found underneath the city itself.
trapped.
Be careful. So right now we are like 25 feet below Jerusalem right now. Right here, this is the city street right here where we're standing at.
Or in other words, we are 2,000 years underground.
What do you guys want to see it? Me too.
You wanna see
Me
it
too.
too?
I want to see it
So,
too.
coming soon as the Lord soon cometh, okay? So with this, we're like, okay, let's, throw our hats in the ring, start talking about the Book of Mormon online. We want to build up an audience so when the documentary is actually out, then we actually have people that want to watch it. And so we started making these kind of scripted videos at first, and then it was kind of clunky, but then we got reached out to.
And the truth is, we're just not that smart. We're like trying our best to like present good research and whatever, but we're not the smartest, all right?
Not the smartest. God bless you. So Hayden, he had a relationship with Wayne May, and Wayne May, we were talking with him, and we're like, you know what, let's do an interview with Wayne May. So we do our very first interview on the Sick of Joseph YouTube channel.
Over Zoom, and it was terrible.
Over Zoom, and what happened is immediately when we started recording, his screen went black, and so we were literally just talking into a void the whole time and could barely hear his voice. But somehow, like 150 or 180,000 people have watched this, and it kind of sparked this thing. It was like, well, let's see who else has something to offer, something to share, and that's kind of where we started doing interviews.
And instead of, because it was really hard, me and Jackson trying to curate information and research to to share with people, we're like, we have a lot more to learn. We're not in the position where we can like go and share our wealth of knowledge to the world about the Book of Mormon, but what we do have is an unending curiosity and desire to learn. So why don't we just do it on camera? So instead of trying to learn it all and then presenting it later, let's just learn live on camera in front of everybody else. And I think that's one thing that's resonated with the Stick of Joseph is like, a lot of people have come to us and said, we feel like we're learning along with you. And I'm like, because you are. A lot of times people will reach out and they're like, hey, I'm like, all right, give me the 30,000 foot view of what you want to talk about. And if I find it interesting, I'm like, all right, stop talking. I don't want to hear anything else. I want to hear it for the first time live on camera. And that's how we do it. And so, I hope that the authenticity, goes through the camera and you feel like you're in that room, because that's really what's happening. So after we started these interviews, it was getting a little tough for like me and my family. Like I said, we didn't have a job. YouTube revenue is like, a little sparse. We raised the money to be able to go over to the Middle East, but I'm like, how am I supposed to provide for my family? We were just about the time to burn through our savings, and we're like, what are we going to do? And I remember we went to Kirtland. This is a weird picture of us. But
I don't know why you picked that one.
This is us in the Kirtland Temple, at the Kirtland Temple. And I'd never been to a church history site before. And I remember just going there, and as we were going to all the places, I remember just hearing the stories of like all these people as Joseph was building Zion. He was doing something that had cosmic level, right? Cosmic level consequences. And we're just doing a YouTube channel. So it's not the same level, but I learned lessons that Joseph, as he was restoring the kingdom of God, there were so many people coming willing to help and to give of their time and sacrifice because they had felt God call them. And I was like, yes, I'm not doing something on the cosmic level, but if this is really something that can help people, then if it's real, God's going to continue to help and to give people on our path. And so from that time forward, we kind of opened ourselves up and was like, God, please send people our way that are going to help us to be able to really turn this into something that will touch the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. And so I just want to share that part, that whatever you're building, whether how big it is, how small you think it is, if it's something you feel like the Lord has called you to do, then ask him to send people to you. And he will. And we'll talk about some of those people that God sent to us along the way that has helped us in this journey.
And who was one of those people that God sent us? A 6'8" absolute ogre of a man that is literally a walking library.
His own words.
His own words, okay? Okay, I was blessing. No, but this one day, our buddy Mike Day, who Hayden and I had both gone to a bunch of his institute classes over at the U, and he has his own talk show called Talking Scripture. Does anyone know Talking Scripture? Yes, we love Mike Day. He reaches out and he's like, dude, you gotta have this guy Dave Butler on to talk about the Book of Mormon and the temple. He has this crazy hypothesis that Nephi was someone who had experienced some sort of temple initiation, and he's writing for an audience of the same people that have gone through a temple initiation. And I just got to say, I was listening. I listened to his podcast first on Talking Scripture, and like you listen to Dave's voice, and it's very academic. I'm thinking this guy's wearing a suit and a tie. He's clean cut. He's very just like Peter Priesthood. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm expecting. And all of a sudden he comes down, he's got his purple jacket on, he's double fisting a taquito and a Mountain Dew. And he's like, let's talk about some scriptures. And we immediately, if you've watched our first interview with Dave Butler, like immediately right off the bat, we were just like vibing with this dude, just laughing a bunch. And then when he started to kind of unpack this hypothesis about the Book of Mormon and the temple, like our minds were blown. And after he went on our channel, then he was fairly known in the Latter-day Saint community, but then a lot of other people started to pick up on this and like, there's no way. This is crazy. This is changing the scriptures for me. And so Dave, I'm sure he'll tell you his story a little bit, but he had the opportunity to go on multiple different podcasts after that. And he had written 2 previous books, The Plain and Precious Things and The Goodness and the Mysteries, that kind of broach a lot of these subjects that he was talking about. But then he reached out to Hayden, and he's like, hey, I'm writing another book. Can I promote it on your guys' channel? And Hayden's like, why don't we just publish it? And he's like, okay. And then Hayden literally like does a Google search, like, how do you publish a book? How do you start a book publishing company?
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah, so we make this promise like, hey, we're going to publish your book, but I have no idea what to do. But I just knew it was like one of those moments, once again, like I was driving down in the car, it was like download, like, all right, I'm going to step forward into the unknown, and I'm going to see, what happens. Same with the book publishing. I'm going to step forward into the unknown, and we're going to see what happens. And I'll tell you, like, it was, at the beginning, it was overwhelming, but it was also kind of a nightmare because we had tons of customer service problems, and Amazon books prints books really bad, and like all this stuff. It was just crazy. But over time, line upon line, precept upon precept, because one of the big issues at this point, me and my family are running like a $6,000 credit card bill, and we're like really having a hard time. And it's kind of come to the point where it's like, how are we going to do this? And it's weird when you're talking about Latter-day Saint topics, like in terms of like making money and stuff, because you don't want to step in the realm of priestcraft, right? You don't want it to get weird. But also you have to, if you want to really do this, which it takes so much time, like we're doing our daily show now, editing all this stuff, like it takes a lot of time and effort. So it's like, how do we keep this up? And this was one of those moments where it's like, hey, how do we do something that is a viable business that's existed for hundreds of years, but also directly supports our mission and can somehow make it so we can provide for our families? And so the book publishing thing really was just a huge blessing. As you can see, we got The Key to the Keystone, too. That was the second book we ever published with Jonah Barnes. And I'll tell you, he didn't come to us first to publish this book. But what happened was I was like, hey, I heard you're writing a book. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, who are you publishing it with? He's like, Cedar Fort. And I'm like, dude, I really wish we could have published it. And I was like, well, I wish you luck, man. I hope it's awesome. And I hang up and I call Jackson and I'm like, bro, we missed out. We could have published Jonah's book, but he already signed with Cedar Fort.
Yeah, and then I was like, bro, have they published his book yet? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, then let's call him back. So then we called Jonah back, talked to him, and somehow we convinced him to cancel his contract and to sign with Plain and Precious Publishing, promising him the world after we had just kind of barely published Dave's book, and somehow it worked out. And we ended up doing it, and it was awesome.
Well, I'm curious, how many people here have read one of these books? Okay, awesome. So a lot of people. And that's what I love. The thing that I love about doing the book publishing is like a lot of times I feel like with YouTube, I never wanted to, and we've started saying this at the end of all of our videos, like turn off YouTube and go get in the scriptures, because the last thing we want is for this YouTube to become a replacement for personal revelation. The thing I like about these books is it's kind of one step a little bit further. Like when you're reading a book, you have to be kind of in a meditative state, right? You have to be paying attention. Hopefully you have your scriptures with you. And so the thing I love about all these books that we've published is they're about reading the scriptures, and after you read these books and you are given these new lenses, it just reignites within you the desire to read the Book of Mormon again, because you're like, holy cow, how have I missed all of these things? I need to get back in the scriptures. And so this is how many books we published up to this point. We got another one coming out December 5th with Library of Godwin. It's called The Doctrines and the Mysteries. That's going to be a really awesome book. And so somehow that Google search worked out. It had all the steps. And I just followed them exactly, I guess. I don't know. So that was kind of the next step that kind of entered us into a new realm of the Stick of Joseph story. Yeah, so this is kind of a fun story here. We'll talk about this. How many of you guys saw this video? Did any of you guys see that video? This started a firestorm in many ways.
Yeah, so for those of you that didn't watch this video, I'll just give a brief synopsis. Basically, there's this evangelical guy who went on this talk show called Shabbat Night Live.
Which is real.
Which is a real show, Shabbat Night Live. And he goes on there talking about how he met up with these people in Saudi Arabia, and they showed him these gold plates, okay? And mind you, this guy's an evangelical, and he's talking about these gold plates and all these different carvings he saw on them and showing images, and they're basically talking about how amazing it was and why they would have written on gold plates and all these different symbolisms that match up with a lot of things that we...
How they're found in like a hole in the ground with a bunch of other records.
Yeah. And so you have like a history of evangelical people just making fun of us that we're crazy because we believe in this crazy story, ancient holy writings engraven on gold plates found in a stone box, and then you have this evangelical well-known guy basically raving about these ancient sacred writings found in a stone box written on gold in Saudi Arabia. And so Hayden and Dave, they make this video.
Yeah, so we get this video, and we just kind of go through it, and we're like, hey, we don't know if these are legit or not, but if they were legit, let's look at some of the symbols and see if there's anything interesting. And so we go through, and we post it, and in one day, it gets like 50 or 60,000 views. And then it goes up even more, and then more. And then all of a sudden, we get like John DeLynn and Mormon Stories saying, having Dan McClellan on saying these are an obvious fake. We even have Jasmine Rappleye, which we love, going on talking about how these might be an obvious fake as well. And we're just like, oh man, are these an obvious fake? Are we idiots? And we look into it, and one of the big reasons why people looked at these plates and were like, these are fake, is because they mirror a lot of the symbols that were found on something called the Jordanian lead codices, which the academic community isn't super split, but there is a split. There are people who think they're legit, and there are people who think that they aren't. And so that's one of the big reasons, is they look like the same sort of things that these Jordanian lead codices are. And so the idea is that people made these and they're trying to sell them and make money. So we're just kind of like, all right, you win some, you lose some. Who knows if they're legit or not? Whatever. We'll just move forward. And then all of a sudden we get an email from Margaret Barker. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Margaret Barker. And so Margaret, has had a huge impact on the Latter-day Saint community, essentially writing books that bolster the Book of Mormon without even knowing that they bolster the Book of Mormon. And what happens is she reaches out and she's like, you know what, guys? These Jordanian lead codices, they were kind of just thrown to the side and there's a lot of political reasons along with it as well. She's like, but I was really curious, like, are they legitimate? And so she had been spending years reading these Jordanian lead codices and essentially decoding them. And she's like, I'm willing to put my whole career on the fact that these things are actually legitimate. So we're like, holy cow. So we buy a plane ticket and we fly to England. That's how Dave sleeps on planes, by the way. props a pillow up on his arm. And we fly to England, and we end up interviewing Dr. Margaret Barker, and in the meantime, learning a lot of other cool stuff and filming some stuff for the documentary. And so that was one of the instances where we just felt like, hey, what seemed like, oh man, we made a big flub or whatever, potentially with these gold plates, whether legit or not, ended up turning into something that I think is going to turn into something even bigger. And, it looks like Plain and Precious Publishing is going to be publishing Margaret Barker's next books, actually, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And so we had a lot of incredible experiences over there. This picture on the right is a picture of us with the president, the mission president, the London mission president and his wife. We were able to do a mission-wide mission conference about the Book of Mormon that was really, really awesome to do. And yeah, we just had an incredible experience over there. And the channel kind of has just morphed into something that we never thought it was going to be. And we've been able to find a better studio space, because at the beginning we were filming in our parents' basement, right?
And we got a lot better. And I do want to give a shout out to Chris Jordan, where Chris Jordan's at. Chris was actually he helped us out a ton too. He was one of those people who, when we prayed and we were like, God, please send people to us, Chris Jordan was one of those people who came and helped us kind of level up. So we went from like one camera with a chest sitting on a dresser to now we have like 3 cameras and we're switching, and the production quality is getting better. And so that was really cool. But then what happened was we were leaving on deployment, and we're like, man, we've been doing all this work. We got the publishing company going. We got the YouTube channels, growing in prominence. Like, what's going to happen? It looks like everything's going to fall apart again. And we're like, all right, we're going to attempt to film as many episodes as we can. And Chris Jordan helped out a ton with that. He'd come and help us record episodes. And so we end up building this huge backlog, but it still wasn't enough. And we're like, things are going to have to be filmed while we're gone if the Stick of Joseph is going to continue to post every week. But we can't have Dave Butler and Mike Day coming into our parents' basement, essentially just saying, hey, Mrs. Paul, you got some banana bread? All right, we're going to go film. You know what I mean? Like, my mom loves them, but like that probably would have been a little bit too much.
Yeah. So we get together with our small team, and we talk about the need that we have to find a studio space on the little budget that we're working with, and we say a prayer. And the next day, we look in our DMs, and we get a DM from a guy named Jay Davis. And he basically says, hey, I love the channel so much. I'd love to take you guys out to lunch this week, and I want to help you out with whatever you need. So then we go to lunch with him, and as we're talking, he's like, yeah, I just want to help you guys out. I have like a full studio space. I don't know if you guys need it, but that you guys can use like for free. I don't care. And this is literally 2 days after we're like, what are we going to do?
And pray, instead of prayer together as a group, like, God, please provide us with another studio.
And so that was just such a tender mercy to see that come to fruition. And then as Hayden and I are pre-recording these 43 different episodes, we get an olive branch extended to us by a very kind man by the name of John DeLynn. And he says, hey, two believing Latter-day Saint Marines, I'd love to have you come on my show and let's talk. Let's have a good conversation. So
6 hours later.
6 hours. Did anyone actually watch the whole thing there? You sick, twisted individual. That's insane. So a lot of stuff was said during that. Some great highlights. He quoted Lucifer's plan almost verbatim. That was pretty hilarious.
Without knowing,
and he didn't realize it. Oh, it was so good. We do a reaction video on our channel, so you don't have to watch the whole 6 hours. You can just watch that part. But what was funny about this exchange, and there's a lot to be said about this, but literally a couple hours after he posted the 6 hours, he changed the thumbnail from this happy blue thing to millennials try to defend Mormonism with red and me looking at like a murderous
he's gonna
psycho.
kill him.
Go back to the first one real quick.
Yeah.
Just look at the dichotomy of this. Happy 2 Marines, blah, blah, blah. Millennials trying to defend Mormonism.
So it's actually hilarious. Also, during this same period of time with the studio, the same guys were like, hey, I love the Canva font that you picked for the Stick of Joseph, but maybe we should actually try to like make something that looks good. And I was like, all right, I guess so. And so that's where we kind of got this design right here. You know, it's got the sword, the shield. You got the S, the J. Some people say that the S is kind of like the Nehushtan, the brazen serpent on the pole. So it's got some cool symbolism. But then we're like, okay, what are we supposed to do? We were talking, and Chris was such a big help. But as time got closer for us to leave, it worked out that it was like Chris wasn't going to be able to help us through the rest of the deployment. You know, it just wasn't the right time of life for him to be able to do that. And we're like, we understand it's not going to work out. And so once again, we're 2 weeks away from leaving. Yes, we have 45 episodes recorded, but they're not edited at all, and we're not going to be able to post them. And so once again, we go to prayer, and we're like, Heavenly Father, we need help. Please send someone. And then he sends us good old Brandon Russin. This is the first day he was in our studio, a couple days before we left. And Brandon is the reason the Stick of Joseph has survived the last year. And that was just another huge blessing. And once again, it just goes back to the whole thing. If you're building something that you feel inspired to build, go to the Lord and ask him to send people. It's amazing because, and I don't have the time to tell this here, but the stick of Joseph was able to be the same sort of blessing to him as it was to us. The timing was just perfect, and the Lord was preparing us to be able to work together and to be friends. And so, with that, not knowing what's going to happen where we're going,
like 5 days before we leave, we give all of our passwords to Brandon, and we're like, please.
All of our hard drives.
Yes. And he's like, I will not fail you. And we embark on the fun transition of going from a full-time civilian to a full-time Marine, which
is not pretty. Let's show them what it looks like.
It's not pretty. This was a picture of my joyful transition right here. And then Hayden, we added
an extra slide,
an extra step for his. And so we shave our heads, you know, the Marine Corps, and we have, you know, no, I'll just say this. Being a Marine is awesome. I wish I could look at each of you in the eyes and be like, the Marine Corps, you know the story of the 2,000 stripling warriors that you read in the Book of Mormon? Copy and paste that with our United States Marine Corps. Like, everyone just stand up, guys, have faith in Jesus Christ, and, you know, really represent themselves well. Not to say that they're all psychos and, you know, hard to get along with, but they're just a different crowd. And so we're really grateful because in the Marine Corps infantry, you do two things. You train to kill the enemy, and you kill the enemy. Those two things. And by the grace of God, luckily we only got to step one of that. But during this year, we were put in a very coarse environment, and I'm so grateful for my big brother for being there with me, because it really was hard in all ways, but especially spiritually sometimes. But we saw a lot of miracles along the way, and what was pretty much the most glaring thing from this whole experience is that I got to see in real time live consequences of rejecting the commandments of God and to not living the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it just fired me up even more to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ and the goodness of his gospel. And so what looked like it was a huge wrench in our plan and something that was going to distract from the mission, we came back with a greater resolve to do what I hope that the Stick of Joseph is doing, and is inspire people to dig deeper in their faith and to really appreciate the gospel of Jesus Christ for what it is.
And during that period of time, there were people. Brandon really helped out, and we actually left someone out. After we went on Greg Mattson's interview for the first time, we got a message from a dog salon Instagram account. And it was just this guy, he's like, hey, I have worked in business development before. If you guys need help or whatever, I'll do whatever you want. And so that's where we met Josh Pearson. He has worked behind the scenes with the publishing company, with the YouTube channel and everything, and he helped so much. And it was just such a blessing. And I just want to say this, like, when we were asked to leave for a year, doing what we love, which is just learning the gospel and sharing the gospel, it felt like this big side quest that was pulling us away from the main quest. And I was like, why is this happening? But I can promise you this, there are no side quests. Abraham probably felt the same way when God tells him, get out of your father's house, I'm going to make you a mighty nation, I'm going to make your seed greater than the stars in the sky and the sands of the sea. And then he gets out, and all of a sudden he has to go to Egypt. And then he's stuck there, and then he has to go fight a war. And like all of these crazy things happen with Abraham, and it might have all seemed like a side quest to him, but it was all for the same thing. Everything that the Lord takes us down, every route that we go prayerfully down, will turn out to help us become fathers of nations, mothers of nations, to receive a new name, and to become like God. And that's eventually where we want to go to. And so the Stick of Joseph, it's been a huge opportunity for me and Jackson to put our faith in the Lord. To be like, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids while we're doing this, but we're just going to do it. And we're going to trust. And we're going to ask God to send people. And he does. And I just have a huge testimony that if you, whatever it is in your life that you're afraid to do because it's uncertain, but you feel called to do because the Spirit is telling you, do it. Trust in the Lord. And guess what? If you fail on that, the lessons you learned from that failure are going to help you in your great plan, the plan of salvation, the plan of happiness. Because at the end of the day, it is the lessons, and it sounds a little cliche and cheesy, but it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But it really is. Because those lessons we learn are invaluable in helping us become the men and women that God wants us to become.
And as bitter as it is to spend, give it up for Hayden. As bitter as it is to spend a year away from our families, the homecoming was so sweet. If any of you have had the privilege to meet my wife, Grace, she's sitting up there. Give it up for Grace. We love Grace. It was such an awesome experience to come home and to be with our family and loved ones again. And if any of you did any of you see that video of Hayden seeing his family for the first time? We didn't want to show it because we didn't want everyone to be sobbing, but it is seriously so sweet.
Yeah, and that was amazing, and that's one of the positives of going on these journeys. Is it's the return home, it's the coming home, and for me, this is just a type and a shadow of the type of homecoming as we go out on our journeys. As we leave the garden, as we go through redemption, as we go through the fall and then redemption and return back to that garden, that joy, that homecoming is something that is going to be given to everybody here. So that was beautiful, and like my wife is an absolute beast. I mean, you saw how good she is at singing, being a single mother of 3.
Yeah,
she's
give
amazing.
It up for her.
So, but yeah, just a little bit on the future. The St. Joseph is doing more. Jackson's got a show, Latter-day Saints. It's kind of the first of its kind where it really is every single day, 7 a.m., pop culture and news through a gospel perspective. And so far for 3 weeks, we've been able to do it every day. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is kind of from the genesis to where we are now. And Hayden and I will be the first ones to tell you we really have no idea what we're doing, but we're just trying to follow what we feel is right. And one of the reasons that we want to start this is as I was on deployment, we had a lot of free time, and I was listening to a lot of these different daily shows from, all different sides and opinions. And what was so frustrating is whenever the Latter-day Saints came up, every single person I was listening to made sure that everyone knew that they weren't on our side either, and that they didn't think the Mormons were Christians and whatever, X, Y, Z. And so I'm like, we need to have a place where we can look at all these things happening in our world and see what the scriptures are saying, look at it from a Latter-day Saint perspective. So the goal with this is to provide people a place where they can go to get informed, to learn about, viral and important things happening in the world, and to see what, a gospel lens might have to say. And if you watch it, you're probably going to disagree with a lot of my opinions, and that's great because we haven't gotten thus far without listening to feedback and different opinions of other people. But that's kind of the space that we're trying to fill. And who knows what else has in the future, but we're so grateful for all of you that have supported the channel, and hopefully that helped you gain a little insight, a peek behind the curtain to, how passionate we are about this. And in times of uncertainty, where the things that made the most sense to do were to, kind of set everything on the back burner and pursue something else, we felt strongly that this was something that was going to provide at least a 51% net positive, and hopefully it's been at least a little bit that or a little bit more for those of you that have seen the channel.
So thank you guys so much. This is a team right here, the core team. That's Josh right there. So you've probably seen him. Josh right there in center, and then Brando. So those guys are honestly heroes for the Stick of Joseph. And so we're excited to continue to do this for as long as we can. We have other exciting things. We're going to be producing shows for other creators coming up here soon. We do have a sister, so that's exactly what we're doing. I don't know if you guys know who Sure Foundation is on Instagram, Maddie Packer, but we're actually going to be producing a show for her coming up here. And we just want to continue to amplify awesome voices and to share the gospel as much as possible. So we're so grateful that we could do this with you guys. If you guys have any questions, I don't know if we want to do them here, but stop us at any time. You can ask us any questions about our story, and we just love you. It's been so fun being here.
All right. Let's give it up for these guys. You see why I love them? They're great. You know, this is what I think, we're going to get this with all the stories. This is, extraordinary. It's a wonderful thing to see, because as you're feeling the Spirit, as you're feeling the efforts of these podcasters, YouTubers, consistently, as you're going through this content, you see what's behind it. And what's behind it is work. What's behind it is the Spirit. What's behind it is an idea of trying to build Zion to make the world a better place. So one more time for the Paul brothers.